Hey, what's up, everybody? Hope y'all are doing all right. So last night, it was a Friday night. It was my first Friday at this new pizza spot I'm working, and one of the strangest nights I think, I don't know. I mean, I've had a lot of strange nights in the pizza industry, but just last night was really, for Friday, it was pretty slow. I went on, like, right now I'm just acting as a delivery driver. So I've been driving, delivering pizzas, and I only delivered 3 pizzas last night. I went on an errand to another location to help give them some mushrooms because they ran out of mushrooms, like in the middle of the dinner rush. So first I had to go to New Seasons to buy some mushrooms. Then I went and drove to another location in the same company and gave them some mushrooms. And yeah, it just wasn't that busy. Like once 7 o'clock rolled around, like, it just kind of died. There was a slow trickle of orders that lasted until we closed, but there wasn't very many deliveries, and just for Friday, it was just slow. And we had a lot of people working. We probably had like, at least 7 employees, maybe even 8 or 9. And we don't do any. They have a few tables outside that, don't really fill up too much. I mean, some people sit around and eat, but it was rainier yesterday, so there wasn't that many people that came up to the window to get slices or just to eat right outside the store. Since this whole sickness thing happened, they've completely closed off their inside dining. So, which is, I mean, in a lot of ways, I mean, it's more space for us. Like, it's, now, like, they've taken out all the tables and chairs that were inside, and now there's a large open space. So I do like that aspect of this particular location and company. But last night, yeah, it was, I was told, yeah, when I walked in yesterday that, they're not going to, I'm going to be getting tips. Like, they're not training me anymore because they've, figured out, or from their perception, I seem to be at such a level of capability that they don't need to train me, and they want to pay me the tips because I'm acting as, an employee rather than somebody who's just training to be an employee. So that's good. But, for me, like, this is something I've dealt with, on a number of different times. But this is why, like, etiquette and, like, having a way of doing things is extremely imperative. And also just morale and, like, getting back to leaders. Because, like, when you have a general manager, that is the leader of that store. And so their influence, the way that they behave, the way they act, the words they say, all of these things are kind of leading the vibe of the store, of the atmosphere. So they're kind of setting the tone of things. And, this particular manager, I made a video talking about how, she's interesting, and she is. However, last night she said she just, like, for whatever reason, she's got this kind of, like, perspective to where, I was folding boxes, and she's like, one of the things I don't do as a general manager, because I'm at, my high status as a GM, is I don't fold boxes, and she also doesn't sweep out the ovens. It was just strange, like, to hear, like, I've never had a general manager come to me and, like, very boldly, or bluntly, maybe is a better word, tell me, like, hey, as a general manager, these are 2 things that you're never going to see me doing, and essentially it's because I've gotten to this rank of being a GM, and it is what it is. But it was like she said it while we were working on these things, so it was kind of like she was trying to, like, I don't know, it was weird, it was strange, just for her to say that. Very honest of her, but also just strange and kind of off-putting to me, and I've worked with a lot of different general managers, and, to me, like, if you're going to be a general manager, that means you should be doing more for your store and your employees than anybody else. You get paid more, it's a higher responsibility, and you're the leader, so it's like, for me, like, when you get to getting into leading, like for military, like, people going to war in battles, you know, like you can be the type of leader that just sits back and watches your troops go and chooses not, you know, you could choose not to engage with them in the battle and charge the field to the enemy. Or you can choose to be there, right, with your men and lead them in the battle, in the moment, in the heat of the fight. And I think that, to me, is the more, you know, just, I think that's the better way to lead. I think when your men see you there and they know that you're a leader, not just because it's some title that you fucking acquired through, you know, however you acquired it, but it's because you're literally a leader at everything that you do. You're essentially kind of, doesn't mean you have to be better than everybody at everything, but you have developed a capability to, you know, be successful in all these different things. And you also know, like, a real good leader does whatever it takes to get the job done. If you see an element of your crew or your task or your team that's lacking, you know, you don't just sit back and not help out with that lack. You go and you fill that void. You fill that space. You do what needs to be done to get the job done. And, you know, to hear her say things like, you know, like, oh, that's one thing I don't do is sweep ovens. And to have that absolutism about, like, not doing these things because she's at a higher position, I thought was just, like I said, kind of off-putting and just strange. And I've never had a GM say that at all. I've never heard any GM say that. And most of the really good GMs I've worked with are the type of people that will do whatever it takes to help out the company. So it's like, if we were to have a day where we needed help folding boxes, they'd be there folding boxes. Or if an oven really needed to be swept and you could tell that all your employees were super busy and just not able to sweep the ovens, but you have the time to sweep the ovens, they're going to sweep the ovens. Like, that's what a good leader does. It picks up the slack. It helps it's that glue that's able to do anything and mold itself to the situation in whatever type of way it needs to be molded in to have a successful situation. So, you know, to have her, you know, say those type of things, like I said, it was kind of off-putting. Although, you know, it's good that she's so honest. Like, she's extremely honest. She also calls herself an asshole and a douchebag. And last night, you know, when she said these things, in my mind, I was like, yeah, I mean, you know, I don't like to admit these things, but you kind of are. Like, she is rather just rough and, like, rash and abrasive, and, like, she's got a lot of sweetness to her too, but very just abrasive, like, just like rah, like, all the time. And, you know, she's the only manager for whatever reason. This company, like, the way it seems to work is they have one GM and then they have a bunch of supervisors, which is totally different than Pizzicato, where I used to work at, where you have a general manager, you have an assistant manager, you have a kitchen manager, and you have supervisors. But for whatever reason, this company chooses just to, you know, have one GM and a bunch of supervisors, which I don't think is a very good idea, because, like, now, for instance, she is having to open and close. I think she's doing this, like, 3 days in a row, and you can tell she's fucking burned out. You know, she's burned out, and she also, you know, I mean, that's why having an assistant manager is good, because your assistant is essentially has, like, a pretty similar role to you. I mean, they act like you when you're not there, you know, and they're able to do all the things that a GM can do, maybe except for a few things, but essentially you have somebody else that can fill, you know, the role that you're supposed to fill when you're not able to, or when you're off. But because she doesn't have an assistant manager or kitchen manager like that, she's responsible for always being that managerial force. And she doesn't have anybody else that can help alleviate her responsibilities, because the way the company's structured itself is this is how they do it. So it's just kind of strange. Now, the supervisors, like, you know, they do act essentially as managers when she leaves, but it's just different, because I've worked with places with assistant managers, and, like, the assistants got some real power. Like, there's definitely, you know, a lot that goes into being that, and I think it does help take off a little bit of the burden of being a GM. So, you know, but last night, like I said, it was really slow. And I was initially scheduled, I'm still, like, initially training, you know, until she told me yesterday that, hey, you're not going to be training anymore. You're now a full employee, which at the time I was like, cool, because that means I'm getting tips, you know, and that means that they like what I'm doing and stuff. So that was good. But then, you know, so because I am training, like, they should have had an extra person last night. because I just came out of nowhere essentially, and the schedule's already been made. So since I'm not officially an employee, then me being there working that day would be like them having an extra body, because they should have already had their Friday shift scheduled the way you'd schedule any normal Friday, and I would just be an extra hand that's still learning the game. But for whatever reason, we were short-staffed last night. It didn't feel like we were, but that's what she said. You know, and again, so it's like they're down 2 people really, because I'm an extra body there. But even me being that extra body, they were still short-staffed, and I don't even think they were that short-staffed. But for whatever reason, like, you know, we had, I think, 2 employees that they left like right at 9 o'clock, and that's when we close. You know, and then they left. The remainder of the people there had to finish cleaning up everything, which is just a strange way of doing things. You know, I'm more the type that's like, let's have more people close so that we all get out there, so we all get to leave quicker. You know, and that's also just better for the overall morale of everybody. And, you know, based on the way they do things, there's actually a lot of responsibility on the drivers. And the drivers at this particular company, they don't get tipped as much as the cooks do, which I kind of get where they're coming from, because I've spent most of my time being a cook in the pizza industry, and working a pizza line when it's busy, like it's hard work. There's a lot of hard work that goes into that. But like last night, they had like 3 people, I think, yeah, at least 3 people working the pizza line, plus the GM can jump in and help out too. So they really have like 4 people working the pizza line, and it wasn't that busy. So it's like, you know, it's just, and then like the guy on the pizza line was kind of dragging ass a little bit. I mean, he even admitted how this is like the slowest Friday close that he's had in a very long time. And then instead of like helping to clean up the rest of the store with everybody else, like as soon as he got his one area done, he was allowed to go home. Now, one person, they had finals. It was finals week for them. So I was like, okay. But then again, I'm also like, it's Friday. Like, is he taking a final tomorrow on a Saturday? Like, that kind of didn't make any sense. You know, and like, it's like you say those things like, okay, you got finals you're trying to get to as, but like if you really were in an urgency to get home, like I felt like I would have seen more urgency in your work. And I was watching him work, you know, yesterday, and it was like he was just moving kind of slow, like, and also like not a lot of them. It's been about, I'd say most of the people will come and introduce themselves to me because they see I'm a new guy. And it's like, you know, I'm coming into y'all's house. Like, I'm a guest here. Like, it's kind of strange for the new guy to have to, you know, be the one to go and befriend everybody. But that's kind of what I've had to do. I've kind of like had to be the one to interact and like initiate like conversation and greetings, you know. Anytime that I've worked in the kitchen, we have somebody new, like I feel like just like an inherent kind of duty to just go and befriend him, be like, hey man, my name's da 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 da, you know, it's nice to meet you, you know, kind of get a vibe of the new person and where they're coming from, and you know what they're about, you know, and just to kind of make them feel welcome. You know, that's really what it is. It's just helping them make them feel welcome, you know, more of a warm, friendly feeling. And for whatever reason, like a number of the individuals I worked with last night, like they didn't want to do that. They didn't want to say hi to me. They kind of like didn't want to look at me. It was like we did say hi, but it was like, you know, it wasn't like a genuine, like, hey, what's up? My name is da 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 da. How are you doing? It was more like it was like they were doing it just as a procedure, you know, and also just like in the moment of, you know, because there was 2 people that I didn't know, and I talked to one, and he was actually cool. He was like, hey, my name's this and this. Nice to meet you. And I was like, all right, cool. That's one dude who's being warm and friendly, but the other gentleman there, he was like just kind of there in the same spot, and I made eye contact with him. So then I initiated like, hey, well, you know, I'm Brian, you know, and he told me what his name was, or he might have told me what his name was first. I'm not sure, but again, it was like he was just a part of that moment of me doing these things. So in the fluency of that particular moment, and for the good feng shui, he, you know, saw that it was a good time to introduce himself and to get to meet me. But it wasn't, you know, met with that same type of warm, you know, generosity, really, just, you know, kind of being generous and kind, as I'd usually find. So it's strange, man. You know, I haven't worked in over 2 years. So things have definitely changed since this whole sickness thing has gone down. But again, I also don't know how much this is just the way that this particular company does things. Pizzicato was different. A lot of people at Pizzicato, like their work ethic was like way up there. Like, and sometimes they'd be better than me. Like they were like at the same level. Like like just that busting ass. Like just people that really like to hustle and, not fucking slip. So we all get tired sometimes, but to have that tenacity to always work at a good intensity, is something that I value. And I like working with other people who have that same type of determination. Now we're all at different levels of physical health and capabilities. So it's like if somebody's clearly overweight or kind of sick or older, you give them some slack, but you can still tell how much that person's pushing themselves, for whatever level they're at. And it's like a few of these dudes, they're younger, and it's like you could tell they could push themselves harder, but they just don't. And and then to see them go home early, while me being this new guy trainer dude who's supposed to be doing a trainer shift, all of a sudden I'm sitting here with a few other of the more newer, kind of less valued employees, and we're the ones that are having to close up the whole shop, while you guys get to leave first. It rubbed off the wrong way. It didn't feel very good. In fact, last night while I was working, I was thinking about, seeing if Pizzicato, my old company, is hiring, or even other pizza jobs, because I just didn't like the vibe. I was in a mood to work too. That's how, it was kind of bothersome to me, because it wasn't like I didn't want to work or I was too tired or feeling like shit or depressed or anything like that. I was actually in a very good and strong feeling and a productive mood. Like I was enjoying the work, but I don't enjoy feeling like I'm being taken advantage of, and I don't enjoy being around people whom it treats you like kind of like a robot, and it's just like it wasn't a very kind and friendly atmosphere. And I think that any type of a leader should take, accountability and responsibility as being the most powerful influence of that particular location. So a lot of it goes back to the GM, and so, and she could tell, because yesterday I did the dishes last night, and the dish area is right where the manager's little space is too. So like she was having to do her managerial stuff at night, and I was washing dishes. So we were both there in the same spot, and she could tell that I wasn't in like the most positive mood like I usually am. And so she was telling me things like, oh yeah, it looks like you got the driver thing down really well, so we're going to move you to making pizzas soon. And, I told her that I love to make pizzas, and that's the main thing I'd like to do, but also that I'll do whatever the company needs me to do to help out the company, which is true. As long as I feel that that company is, again, like perpetuating something that's good. But like last night, just, it was just dragging ass, and we had tons of people there, and it felt like we should have been able to get out of there like right at 9 or 9:15, 9:20. Like most of the time in other pizza locations, like when it's that slow and we have that many people, there's no need for us to stay a whole hour after we close to finish closing. Like it was just ridiculous. So, and then it's like you have these other people that are just kind of doing these small little things here and there, and it's like they're leaving like a lot of the shit that most people don't want to do to people like me who's new, and it's like just taking advantage of the new guy. And then the other new guy, Zach, he's another driver, he was doing a lot of shit too, and it just feels like sometimes these places, they choose to fucking just throw all this shit on the new person because they don't want to do it anymore. And it's like, oh, we got this new guy here. We can just tell him to do this and that, and fucking he'll do it. And if he doesn't, well, fuck him, because I'm a senior and I've been here forever. So, it's like they get like this entitlement to act like however they kind of want to an extent. And it's just not the coolest vibe, and it does kind of make you feel like you're being taken advantage of and just not treated with, the same type of respect. But from a learning perspective, I'm really glad I got to go through that, because I do want to open up like some type of a store or restaurant exchange center, and I do want to make sure that these type of things don't happen anymore. Like I really want to have a very in-depth system to help keep everybody at a stable and good pace and a fair pace, so that nobody's having to feel like they're being taken advantage of, so that we're always switching up the tasks. So one person doesn't just get to have to do the dishes all the time, or one person doesn't have to do the shitty job all the time. No, we want to mix it up. We want to cross train. We want to help, cultivate good creativity and growth within inside the human being, as well as perpetuate a successful business. So, but a lot of times these companies, they will neglect the individual in favor of the business. And to me, that's just not a good way about doing stuff. And it's not in line with love, and harmony for everybody and everything. So, yeah, my interest, like the GM, like she's interesting, but, for a few, for a little bit there, part of me was like, I kind of got the hots for her. But after what I saw and experienced last night, and it's like, no, she's still interesting, and we could, she seems intelligent, and so we could probably have some good conversations. But those type of things that I saw, like, it puts me off. Like, it's like, I'm not really attracted to that, because I kind of was. But like after seeing that, I'm like, I don't think so. So anyway, I just want to share that with y'all, and hope you guys have a good day. All right, love y'all. Bye.